So good evening everyone, I am Vishal Salsekar and today we are going to discuss the News Today articles for 14th and 15th of September. Right. So in today's discussion we are going to cover 6 important articles in detail, which includes the first article regarding the all-time high pendency in the Supreme Court. So this is one such major issue as far as the judiciary in India is concerned, that there is the issue with respect to high case pendency. So we will discuss in detail with respect to data and the other aspects in this article. Next is regarding the global capability centers in India. So these are the new and the emerging areas which can generate a lot of cooperation with respect to research and development, innovation, along with the employment generation. So we'll discuss regarding the global capability centers, what are these and how they can improve these particular scenarios that we had discussed. Next is regarding the Northeast as the front runner of the growth. So in this article, we are going to discuss regarding the importance of the Northeastern region, specific initiatives regarding this specific region. So from the perspective of international relations as well as the inclusive policy development as far as India is concerned, we are going to discuss this article in detail. Next is regarding the bioethanol from bamboo. So this is also related to the Northeastern region, but yes, we are going to concern more about the bioethanol. So already we have discussed the articles regarding the ethanol and all. Now we will discuss further regarding the bioethanol. The next article will be regarding the Defense Procurement Manual of 2025, which has been launched by the Defense Minister. So in this case, we are going to discuss that how this specific thing is different from the defense acquisition. We will also talk about the indigenization of the defense, right? And we will also discuss the challenges in this specific regard. The last article is regarding the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. There has been a recent bill that has been cleared by the Kerala's cabinet. So once that will be presented to the Kerala legislative, once it will be passed, it will be considered as an amendment, right? So we will discuss regarding the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 from the perspective of what changes Kerala wanted to do. Right. Then in the quick updates, we will discuss regarding the personality in news, Dr. Bhupen Hazarika. And then we are going to discuss certain other important articles, right? So let's start the discussion for the today's news. The first news is regarding the Supreme Court's case pendency, as it is highlighted that Supreme Court case backlog hits all-time high with the 88,417 pending cases. That means this is the total pendency that is there with Supreme Court of India. This is only with Supreme Court. Now when we will club the data of the district and the session courts and the subordinate judiciary in general, and we will further include the data of the high courts of different states, then it goes beyond 5 crore. That shows the gravity of the situation, that this is the pendency of the cases or judicial cases that India is facing right now. Now, from the perspective of the UPSC Civil Services Examination, GS Paper 2, which talks about the judiciary as a prominent thing, and even from the perspective of Constitution, because who is the ultimate interpreter of the Constitution of India? It is the Supreme Court, right? So the structure, organization, functioning of the judiciary, judicial reforms, etc., is the theme in the general studies paper 2, and it can be asked. And it is also related to different other papers. When you will talk about the economy, if there is high pendency, it is going to impact the ease of doing business. That's why from the other subjects perspective also, it is to some extent important. Now, when we are talking about the judicial pendency, there has to be some data that you should be quoting as and when there is a question that is asking regarding highlighting the gravity of the situation. Because when in the answer, you have to start your answer with certain data, that data should be credible, right? So in that cases, you can utilize this particular data. Does not matter कि बिल्कुल latest data लिखा है आपने, it's not important, but yes, that data should be of certain recent year, right? So as to give the gravity to the situation. So this is from the National Judicial Data Grid. You can quote as it is any specific data. For example, when you talk about the subordinate judiciary or the subordinate court, 4.7 crore cases. This is the rough, and this is more than that. So it is roughly, it is said that it is roughly near 5 crore cases which are pending. The next, when we talk about the various high courts of the entire country, more than 63 lakh cases are pending. That is like at the High Court level, and then 88,417, which is one of the highest pendency of the cases with the Supreme Court when it is functioning with its full strength. That means the 34 judges, they are there. There is no such vacancy, but still there have been increased cases which are pending, 88,417 cases which are pending in the Supreme Court. That gives an idea that yes, there has to be certain changes with respect to the case disposal, with respect to reduction of the judicial pendency has to be done beyond even the increasing the number of judges, right? So that we are going to discuss. Now when we talk about this kind of pendency which is there in the judiciary, now there are reasons for the increasing of the pendency, and we are here not restricting ourselves only to the Supreme Court. We are in general talking about what are the reason for the case pendency in different courts of the law in India. Now first is the vacancies in the High Court and the subordinate court. Now see, though Supreme Court is functioning with its full strength, but in the India, whether you talk about the subordinate judiciary or you talk about the High Court, there have been a high pendency. India is marred by one of the highest pendencies as far as the judiciary is concerned. Now this pendency varies from roughly 16% to 30%, but yes, that pendency is there, and that particular pendency highlights that jitna zyada pendency hoga, the amount of pendency will directly result into the number of cases pending, because the human resources are going to get reduced, which are going to dispose the cases of, and in that cases there is going to be comparatively higher cases that will be pending. So more than 5,600 vacancies in the judiciary as per the Ministry of Law ka data, which shows that roughly 16% to 30% between 2006 to 2024. This is the data regarding the subordinate court and the High Court. So this is the pendency. You can get an idea regarding this data. The 16 to 30% is good to write, which is the data of the Ministry of Law. Now next is the low judge to population ratio. So it's not about only the absolute number of judges, but that should also be in proportion to the entire population. For example, suppose karo there are two countries. One country might be having 1 crore population, another country might be having 1 lakh population. Both the country might be having, let's say, 10 judges. So one country is having 10 judges on 10 lakh population. Another country is having 10 judges for 1 crore or 10 crore population. So in that cases, per judge per 1,000 or let's say 1 lakh or let's say 10 lakh population is comparatively getting reduced. So basically what I'm trying to tell you over here is that this depends upon how much judges are available for, let's say, 1 million population. That is the standard that we are talking about. Now in the case of India, there is roughly 21 judges per million population. But on the other hand, when we talk about the countries which are having comparatively better disposal rate, or let's say the countries like United States, which is having roughly 150 judges per million population. Now when per million population, because jitna population zyada, the amount of population will decide comparatively that this population is going to create multiple new pending cases, multiple new cases also, and that will result into pendency if the number of cases that are rising has not met with the number of judges that are there. So in India it is 21, on the other hand in United States it is 150 per million population. That means obviously the disposal rate is going to get high over here, and it is low in the case of India, right? So there is a need to increase the number of cases, number of judges per million population. Next is regarding the excessive government litigation. Now see, you might have heard of certain cases where the government itself is a party, whether the government is creating the contention or whether the government itself is portrayed as a party by any particular litigant. So government can be initiator of the case also, or government can be one such party also. In both the cases, government is one such party in that specific case. Now when the government is a party, obviously in that particular cases, the litigation is going to get increased. And as per the data, it is mentioned that more than 50% cases are there where the government is itself a litigator or government is itself a party. In those particular cases, there are high chances that the pendency is going to get increased, right? Next is regarding the inadequate infrastructure and the manpower. So we have talked with respect to the human resources. Now there is inadequate infrastructure, which also includes a lot of other things, which includes the physical infrastructure, which includes the digital infrastructure, which includes the court record also, which includes the integrated database also, which also includes a lot of tools that are available, which are not talking about that within that particular time frame there should be disposal of these cases. For example, in India, there is no such law that is mandating that the court, this particular court, has to settle the dispute within the 60 days or the 90 days. There are certain tribunals that are mandating the same. There are certain specific laws that are mandating that the special court created for disposal of the cases related to this law has to be disposed, let's say 90 days or 160 days or 190 days, 180 days, like this, whatever timeline it is. But in general, the judiciary is not putting certain timeline. When there is no such timeline, obviously it is going to go for multiple adjournment. And when we talk about the adjournment that has been sought again and again, that leads to the cases pendency, that leads to the litigation. And that's why it is said that many a time the case is being filed by an individual and the disposal of that particular case is got, or in general is available to the person who is his second or third generation. So this is also the scenario when such kind of pendency of the cases have been observed. So the inadequate infrastructure, manpower, apart from that there are multiple other issues. So all these things causes the issue of the pendency of the cases. And when there is a pendency of the cases, obviously it is not good for the judiciary and in general for the country like India, which is having the diversity, which is having the vast population, and a lot of grievances are attached to that. Now, when there is pendency, it is going to cause a lot of difficulty. First, justice delayed is justice denied. Now, suppose karo, there is a rape case, right? Now, in those particular cases, initially you might have seen, let's say we can talk about the Kolkata rape and murder case. That was a brutal case, right? Now, when we talk about these kind of cases which has such gravity, which evoke the conscience of the entire masses, in those cases, if that is not disposed very quickly, don't you think so that people will start questioning even about the process that is being formed by the constitution or by the judiciary itself? So when these particular things are there, the people's trust on the institution gets comparatively reduced. And when this situation is there, when justice might be available, let's say after 4 years, 5 years, but at that point of time, the case is already died, right? So whatever sentiments that were there, that has already been created. So the justice delayed is equivalent to justice denied. That does not mean that you go for hasty justice or you should not take into consideration what all things are available. But the case disposal rate should be comparatively increased. There should not be unlimited adjournment, as highlighted by the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud sir, that there have been multiple times the adjournment have been sought on the cases which in the social media are being portrayed that they are being delayed from the side of judiciary. So it is on both the stakeholder, from one side judiciary, on the other side the people who are the litigant and their respective lawyers. Next is the socio-economic cost. When we talk about the socio-economic cost, let's say that if there are certain stake of yours that are attached to that cases, now maybe certain monetary things, maybe certain social prestige, but if there is a long pendency of that particular cases, now let's say 4 year, 5 year, the entire prestige might have gone, the entire economic thing might have eroded, and even seeing your case, many such people would not come here and invested here or may not have done something. So it is also impacting the ease of doing business also. बिल्कुल हो सकता है, right? So when the case pendency is there, when the disposal is not quick, in that cases it is also going to impact the ease of doing business, because in those cases what is going to happen, that individual might think that if there is something wrong that will happen with me, the judiciary will come to rescue me, but that time period is so large that may be a chance that till that point of time I might not be even in the workable condition. So that might be the issue. Last is regarding the prison overcrowding. Now on one side we are saying that there have been the prison overcrowding issue, on the other side there have been a lot of under trial. Now when there are multiple number of under trial that are there, obviously that is going to cause the prison overcrowding. And when this particular data says that 76% those who are the prison inmates are the under trial people, that means the case has not been resolved yet, the final verdict is yet to arrive, but those people are in the the jails, and that is causing the situation of the overcrowding because the justice is getting delayed. So these are the issues. Now when we talk about the way forward, there are certain recommendations. For example, Law Commission's 120th report talked about that there should be minimum 50 judges per million population. Right now, what is it? It is 21. Now from 21 to 50, that has to be there. Now in those cases, how the judges will come? Maybe ho sakta hai for certain cases like Supreme Court, you need to increase the judges' strength. But on the side of the higher court, like the High Court as well as the subordinate judiciary, there is a pendency that is there. Once you remove that pendency, there will be comparatively increment in the case disposal rate. So that is being talked about over here and further increasing the number of judges. Next is about the All India Judicial Services. So this is regarding the subordinate and the district judiciary, that there is an examination at the centralized level. Right now, different states are conducting their own examination. In certain states, there are different procedures in order to appoint this subordinate judiciary. Now, the recommendation is that there should be a centralized examination conducted by one such prestigious organization, maybe the UPSC or any other organization which is having credibility and should ensure the All India Judicial Services, which is also even mandated by the Constitution of India. Now you have to tell me which particular article of Constitution talks about the All India Judicial Services related aspects. Last is regarding the digital and the procedural reforms, which talks about the e-court mission mode project. Like right now we are talking about the integrated database, we are talking about the case management or integrated case management. Right now there should be one step ahead, and whatever technological things that are going to get incorporated, like the artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analytics, that should also be utilized over here in order to resolve the cases, or at least to bring down certain duplicacy with respect to this, like merging of the similar kind of cases, so that there can be fast tracking of the case disposal. Is it clear? Right. So this is it regarding the judicial pendency. Now previously UPSC had asked the question with respect to the growth of the PIL in India. As a result of it, the Indian Supreme Court emerged as the world's most powerful judiciary. So basically not related exactly to the pendency, but yes, with respect to judiciary, every year or every alternative year, the questions have been asked on one aspect or other. But yes, this pendency is one such prominent issue. Any year the question can be asked regarding the pendency. So some things should be prepared at your end. Regarding the desirability of the greater representation of women in the higher judiciary. So from societal perspective also, because these women who will be participant of the judiciary or the highest judiciary, they will act as a role model for the other people, right? So this is it regarding the PY. Next is regarding the Confederation of the Indian Industry, CII, released the suggestion for the National Framework on the Global Capability Centers, GCC. Now these are also sometimes known as Global In-House Centers. Now we will discuss in detail regarding what these particular centers are and what are their utility and how they are important from the economy of India perspective. Why they are important from the UPSC's perspective? Because the government policy GS paper 2 related to the government policy, interventions, GS paper 3, Indian economy, issues related to growth, infrastructure, investment, all these things are part of the GS2 and GS3. And these are the important thing. And if there is anything related to current affairs in these particular topic, that becomes more important from the examination perspective. Now the main question comes over here is, what are the global capability center? Now let's understand with one such example. Let's say there is a corporation known as Google, which is functioning in the United States. Now the Google is also functioning. You have also seen that the Google India, right? So you have also seen that there is a subsidiary company of Google, which is Google India, which is functioning within the domain of India, right? Now this is the subsidiary fully owned by Google. So basically this is a parent company and this is basically a child company of this corporation. Now previously what used to happen, that from these particular parent company, the functions which are transferred to the countries like India were like the BPOs or the call center related things, or let's say certain service related aspects or the repetitive tasks that were being provided. For example, because see, India had the population, India had comparatively high amount of population, which is also English speaking population, which is technically also sound. So they can perform certain technical things which need certain repetitive aspects and which need certain awareness regarding English. Now those particular tasks from the Google, which is the US company, transferred to the Google India Corporation कि भाई आप ये काम perform करो, and there are certain units within India. Now what happened? After roughly 10-15 years, the capability of the Indians increased, the number of institutions or the premier institutions in India increased, like, right? And apart from that innovation, India ka performance with respect to the ease of doing business, global innovation index, and apart from that, a lot of other factors emerged, including the government policy that made these particular countries to establish even their research and development, innovation, and a lot of other things which are their important part of the supply chain, they are also established in the Google India. I'm giving you just one example, right? So, and this is also a hypothetical example, but yes, this is correct that the Google India is a kind of like GCC of the Google, right? So in that case, R&D, innovation, a lot of things which used to be done by the corporation which is sitting in the Google, now certain things India specific have been transferred to India, so that the cost that they need in bringing those particular people from India to US will be reduced. In India, they will get a large amount of talent pool. In India, comparatively lesser payment they have to give to the people. And apart from that, a quality human resources they are going to get. Now this I'm talking about from the Google's perspective, why they are building these particular things within India. Now like Google, there are other companies also, let's say IBM is there, Microsoft is there, Amazon is there. A lot of corporations have decided that we will make sure our offshore units should be situated in countries like India, where we are going to utilize their talent pool, where we are going to utilize their skills, and in return, these people get the employment. Now, the person who is sitting in India earning something, isn't he contributing in the India's GDP? Yes or no? Otherwise, this person would have gone to US working in the same company, but would have contributed to US GDP. Now, this person is contributing even within the India's GDP. That means the GDP or the gross value added related contribution is also being provided by these. So the benefit comes like these people, when suppose obviously when they have to transfer certain things, for example R&D innovation, certain engineer from these particular firm will come here, they will establish their presence, they will train the youth. So Indian people are getting trained, they are getting skilled. Apart from that, there will be R&D innovation, there will be comparatively better employment opportunity, there will be comparatively better research and development, and also gross value added that will be available to India. So previously what used to be the repetitive task now became the R&D and the innovation center. This is simply the concept of the global capability centers, or also known as the global in-house centers. I hope this thing is clear to you. Now, these are the offshore centers established by the multinational corporation. So, multinational like Google established the Google India, which is their subsidiary, which is their owned company within India. Right. Now, the objective kya hai? Objective is to deliver technology, innovation, research and development, service delivery to its parent organization. Now, see, that will remain Google only. वो Google ही है, right? But that has established within India, so they are contributing to India also, but they are bound to deliver the things to the parent company, which is Google. Right. Now, why India is going to get benefited? Because right now we had seen from the perspective of Google that what Google is getting from there, but what India is getting, it is hosting roughly 50% of the all GCC. So 50% of all GCC means when the companies are establishing their offshore unit, 50% of those wants to establish in India because of first demographic dividend available, second skilled population available, then the English speaking and all, and also India is basically the business related governance or ease of doing business is also getting simplified in India. Apart from that, it is contributing to 1.8% of the national GDP. That means when the people are sitting within India only, they are contributing for, let's say, outside of India firm also. But yes, they are contributing to the GDP of India. Apart from that, the net employment, because see, once these companies are establishing their offshore units, they are going to employ mainly the Indian employees, right? In the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, right? So these people are going to get employed, and the employment impact is also 10.4 million population within financial year of 25. So basically, India is also getting benefited through the monetary term, through the collaboration or joint research, development, learning wala aspect, and also the employment front, right? Now, when we talk about the key growth driver for the GCC in India, like why the companies are establishing their global in-house center in India. First is the risk and the regulatory environment. So see, India is a large country which is comparatively free from a lot of risk. First, it is democracy. There is no such kind of absolutist thing within India. There is a multi-party democracy, right? Apart from that, even you will see it's not like it is dominant by only one set of ideologies. So basically, what all things that might create certain conflict, and also the people have confidence in their government. When there is a confidence in their government, in that particular cases, the ease of doing business, the confidence of the external parties in the government is also there. इसीलिए बोलते हैं ना, sometime when the coalition government is there, that particular government is comparatively unstable, and that's why the people who are sitting outside, their confidence also get reduced. But when there is a strong government that is governing, at that point of time, even the outside people are interested because they know that this particular government will be able to govern better. So risk and regulatory environment in India compared to the other regions is comparatively lesser, right? Innovation startup ecosystem, India itself is functioning upon a lot of things like the Make in India, PLI scheme, Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? Innovation, Atal Innovation Mission and all. Next is cost competitiveness and the efficiency, because the resources are also getting trained. And apart from that, compared to the other countries, like they are establishing their firm in the Western countries, in India, it is comparatively cost effective and also efficient. The strong infrastructure and the connectivity. Now India, after 2015, there have been focus upon the Digital India mission, BharatNet. Apart from that, even the physical connectivity like the Udan, Udidesh Ka Aam Nagrik, right? All these things have ensured the robust connectivity, whether it is railways, whether it is the roadways. In all these things, there have been strong presence. Lastly, the talent availability and the diversity. So the demographics that is available, the skill demographics that is available, right? Through Skill India mission and a lot of other programs like the apprenticeship program, there has been the talent availability and also the diversity. Now, what is the suggested framework? This is a suggested framework, right? So first thing is like the strategic priority. So what should be prioritized? The prioritization of the growth objective and prioritization of certain new areas. So when you talk about the growth objectives, roughly by 2030, 5,000 GCCs should be there. Overall GVA contribution is expected around 470 to 600 billion dollar. That means this is the amount they are going to contribute in the GDP. Apart from that, employment. So right now it is roughly 10 million. So it is expected to grow to 20 to 25 million population. That means a lot of employment potential. New areas like the quantum mechanics, quantum computing, then digital healthcare, then industrial revolution 4.0, artificial intelligence. These are the areas, even including the cyber security. And when you see the demographics of India, the people are comparatively well equipped with respect to the technological things. Next is regarding the critical success features. So when you talk about critical success, that means India is possessing certain things which is helping these particular countries that these should come to India. First is the talent development. So there is already a industry academia collaboration that is going on, and that will further increase if there is the better availability of these GCCs. So see, already there are certain things, and the availability of GCC will ensure the further success with respect to the critical aspect, critical infrastructure, critical technologies and all. Next is infrastructure, plug and play infrastructure. That means ready to utilize tools that are available, whether it is the open source programs or whether it is a kind of like a physical infrastructure that is available, right? To plug and play infrastructure. Digital economic zone, you might have already heard of the special economic zone, SEZ, EEZ, right? So in that cases, digital economic zones that are there. So now it's not only about the physical domain, it is also about the digital domain, right? Then data centers, which are the places where the data is going to get hosted, all these things including the clouds and all. So all these things are going to benefit India with respect to achieving its targets. The locational capabilities, so generally these GCCs, because the trend suggests that they are targeting tier 2, tier 3 cities. Why? Because the rent and a lot of things are not high, and comparatively the work conditions can be comparatively better managed. So that's why the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, once there will be larger corporations, these cities are also going to get developed, right? Then the performance levers. So apart from this, these two things, strategic priority and the critical success features, factors, The performance levers is also one such thing. So policy instrument, for example, now see, when the GCCs are going to come, obviously you have to give certain benefits. So there should be single window platform for the GCC investors. That means those people who want to invest, there should be ease of doing business for them. Fast track approval should be there. Then investment facilitation should be there. So there should be prioritization of the conventional market from where the corporations are coming, like the Google, Microsoft, these are coming from US. So US, UK market, and apart from that, try to tap the other new market like the Japan, Nordic countries and Australia. So ऐसा नहीं है कि only focus upon the US, UK. There should be the new areas where you should explore. So right now we are focusing upon these areas. You might have heard of Samsung. There are many such other corporations which are coming like the Hyundai and all, and they are contributing through their GCCs in India. Then the governance framework. So if you want to govern them better, there should be a better governance framework at the national level, right? Like there should be a national level GCC council, then there is a dedicated GCC cells, right? So all these things should be there in order to provide a robust framework which will ensure the certainty, and eventually that will ensure the growth prospects within India. Clear hai? So this article was regarding the global capability centers, right? The next article is regarding the Northeast India is no longer a peripheral but the center to the India's growth, which is said by Honorable Prime Minister of India. Now when Prime Minister is talking about the importance of the Northeast region, now UPSC can focus upon this region. So when we talk about the UPSC Civil Services examination, there is a paper 2 which talks about the India and its neighborhood. Now you see the geography of the northeastern states, whether you talk about Arunachal Pradesh, which is having the boundary with China also, there is also border with Myanmar, then there is Nagaland with Myanmar, with Manipur with Myanmar, Mizoram with Myanmar, right? So these are the prominent states which are having border with Myanmar. When you talk about Sikkim, it is having the border with the Nepal and Bhutan, right? There is a Siliguri corridor which is available over here. Here there is West Bengal, again the boundary with the West Bengal ka boundary with Bangladesh. So basically the point that I want to convey over here is that when any specific state is having boundary with the international nature or any specific country, in that case that becomes important. But when we are talking about the northeastern states which are connected to India through this particular Chicken's Neck corridor or the Siliguri corridor, which were generally not considered that much inclusive as far as the policy formulation was concerned, right? And later on they were taken into consideration, and hence there was comparatively more focus or inclusive focus that was provided upon these particular states to integrate them with the rest of India through different frameworks. That's why the Northeast becomes very, very important, whether it is about the domestic polity or the foreign policy of India, right? So in the context of this, generally the question in the prelims regarding the locational aspect that can be asked, like which of the following states makes the border with Myanmar, which of the following state makes the border with Bangladesh and all. So in that cases, by observing this particular map, you will be able to answer. Now GS paper 2, India and its neighborhood. Then apart from that, even GS paper 3, which talks about the growth and the economic development, disaster management, because this particular region is also one such disaster prone region, because from here there is the Brahmaputra river that comes, and there is flood, which is a common phenomena in the Brahmaputra, which causes the issue with respect to disaster, and there is a need for disaster management. Along with that, when any country is making border with any other country, any state is making border with any country, in that cases the internal security also itself come into the picture, because this is the region which is hotspot for drug trafficking, weapon trafficking, even the insurgency related issues, human trafficking, cattle trafficking, all the kind of issues. So in that cases also from internal security perspective it is important, even from GS1 geography perspective it is important. Now when we talk about the northeastern region, we have talked about the states which are there as a part of the Northeast India. Now, there is a government's vision. After 1991, there have been increased focus of government on the Northeast, and that's why there have been focus upon the Look East policy. Now, initially in the Look East policy, specific focus on the Northeast was not provided. But in 2002, under the regime of Dr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, there was increased focus upon the northeastern states, and then there was a slogan that was provided that look east through the northeastern states. That means the development and the priority agenda, inclusiveness of the northeastern states was taken into consideration. after 2014 there had been increased impetus on the northeast, and that particular vision changed to the Act East policy, which included looking towards the Southeast Asia from the prism of the northeastern states. That means northeast will be at the center point of this particular connectivity. That's why the government's focus increased towards the northeastern states. Now it includes the transformation of the northeast region from the frontier region to the front runner in growth. That's why we should not consider those only as the bordering states, but they are also the states which are the front runner as far as the growth perspective that are concerned, right? Now, what are the steps that have been taken in this particular regard? The first, which is ongoing, first is the Act East policy. Now, the Act East policy talks about the connectivity of India with the Southeast Asian counterparts, but through the Northeast region, which is the specific focus, right? Now there have been a dimension that have been added, which is the East, which is empowering, acting, strengthening and transforming formula. So it includes the empowerment, act, strengthen and transform of the northeastern states, and through that there should be connectivity of the Southeast Asian countries. So the Act East policy, which was the policy of 2015, that was strengthened further in order to incorporate these particular things. So whether it is infrastructure development, whether it is connectivity, whether it is any other thing like economic opportunities and all, that is governed by this. Next is the infrastructure development. So recently there have been a lot of projects, whether it is railways, whether it is roadways, whether it is the development of the digital connectivity, whether it is any other physical connectivity that have been seen. For example, Bairabi Sairang, that railway line which connects Aizawl, which is in the Mizoram. Now Aizawl till this point of time was not connected with any of the railway network. This is the first railway network in the state of Mizoram. So the Bairabi Sairang lines that connect Aizawl, which is the capital city of Mizoram. Now when the connectivity is increased, there is comparatively better availability of the economic avenue, and that will increase the connectivity, which will reduce the physical distance and even the other distance between the people. Next is regarding the national highways. So more than 16,000 kilometers of the national highway is being constructed, right? So this is the data of July 2025. So there are certain tracks, for example, Tendol, Sialsuk is there. Then apart from that, Chimtupui river bridge, that is there. So these are the connectivity projects that were taken. This is also belonging to the Northeast. Apart from that, even the digital and the air connectivity, digital connectivity through the BharatNet, like connecting the panchayats through the optical fiber network, so that there will be comparatively better connectivity, seamless data transmission, right? Apart from that, Udan, which is the Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagarik, which is connecting the cities which are comparatively smaller cities with the air connectivity, right? So smaller airports are being constructed, right? So in that cases also there have been connectivity project in the northeastern states. Now what are the other steps that have been taken regarding this? So financial assistance and the other development related schemes. For example, there is a separate ministry like the Ministry of the Development of the Northeastern region in order to ensure better development of Northeast. Next is PM Divine, which is related to the supporting the Northeastern states to support the infrastructure and the connectivity related initiatives. So this is regarding the financial development and the assistance scheme. Iske alawa, in order to ensure better governance and the transparency, there have been certain initiatives like Purvottar Vikas Setu. Purvottar means the northeastern in Hindi. Purvottar Vikas Setu portal, which is for the project approval, ensuring the monitoring more efficient and more transparent, so that there will be comparatively better inclusive and the transparent development. Now when we are talking about, these are the steps which includes the physical connectivity, which includes the policy level connectivity, which include the financial assistance and also the governance level per connectivity. All these things are there, but still there are certain issues which are hindering the complete integration. So that is, first issue is the connectivity. So I have already shown you that there is a narrow strip that connects these regions. So there is a limitation as far as the physical connectivity is concerned, and the alternative routes, whether it is passing through, let's say, Bangladesh region, there is a turmoil going on, Myanmar region, through the Kaladan multimodal transport project. In that case also, in that region, there is issue going on, turmoil going on, right? So in that cases, these connectivity projects have not taken off to the expectation that was there. So this connectivity still becomes one such issue as far as the connecting of the northeastern region is concerned. Next is the security, whether it is the insurgency by certain insurgent elements supported by the countries like China, sometimes even the extremist factions in Myanmar, because they are getting shelter in Myanmar, like the ULFA is there, like NSCN is there. So these are the groups that put insurgency in India, specifically in the border region. Ethnic clashes is also there. We are right now seeing it in the Manipur region. Previously, it was between Mizoram and Assam also. It was between Tripura and Mizoram also. So between different states in the northeastern region, there are certain ethnic clashes. Between the tribes also, we had seen the ethnic clashes, like the Meiteis and the Kukis, they were fighting. So point simply here is that there are certain clashes that are going on. From the economy perspective, since the connectivity was less, so that's why the development of industry to the expectation it was expected, that's not there that extent mein. Apart from that, generally the communities are dependent upon farming, so subsistence farming is there, weak industry, low investment, because when the physical connectivity is comparatively lesser, the industry will not that much want to connect because they have to ensure a supply chain. That's why the industrial output is also comparatively lesser. Next is the society. So there is tribal identity concern, demographic pressure of the migration, because generally when the employment opportunities are not that much, the people are generally doing out migration. Otherwise, they are also sometimes getting involved in the insurgency or certain instability. That is also a cause to taken into consideration, or the issue to taken into consideration. So these are the issues which we have to overcome. And apart from these, there are issues like the drug trafficking, because this particular northeast is having very much proximity with the Golden Triangle, which is a drug hotspot, which includes the country like Myanmar, Thailand, right? So in that case also, it is going to impact the drug related incidents that is going increasingly in the northeastern states. Iske alawa, there is armed trafficking, there are issues like the your free movement regime, FMR regime, which we are having with the Myanmar. So right now there have been a pause on that particular regime. Government has taken into consideration, and since Feb 2024 there is comparatively more regulated and very less number of utilization of this particular regime, but still that is a contention between India and Myanmar. So these are the challenges which we have to overcome in order to go for comparatively better inclusive development in the northeastern region. Now the question that UPSC asked, like, what are the major challenges to the internal security and the peace process in the northeastern states, like the what conflict that was there, right? Map the various peace accord and agreement initiated by government. So whether it is regarding the Nagas, whether it is regarding Mizoram, a lot of other things that you have to write in this particular case. The next article is again related to the Prime Minister's visit to Assam, and here Prime Minister inaugurates the India's first bamboo-based bioethanol plant in the Assam's Gola Ghat. Now, you have already heard a lot regarding the ethanol, and these days, after India has achieved this particular 20% ethanol blending ka target, there have been further discussion regarding this. Certain controversies are also attached to that. We need not to go into the controversies, but yes, from the exam perspective, this ethanol is important. So, GS paper 2, National Policy on Biofuel, National Bamboo Mission, Act East Policy with Northeast as a hub, GS paper 3, Economy, Energy, Environment, Science and Tech. This is the important topic, right? Now, when we talk about this particular refinery जो established किया गया, so this is a joint venture of Numaligarh refinery and the Finland's Fortum and the Champolis OY refinery. So this is a collaboration or the joint collaboration of two in order to produce the bioethanol, right? So this is for the bioethanol. Now, which particular thing is in the news, which is bioethanol? We know that ethanol is there, right, which is being blended. Now, what is bioethanol? So when the ethanol that is being produced through certain kind of things or the biological resources. For example, there are things like, let's say, food, there may be certain kind of waste material, there may be some other things like the algae might be there, like the cyanobacteria may be there, or even sometime even artificially created certain microorganism which is being utilized in order to create the ethanol, that is known as the bioethanol. So biological resources utilized for the production of ethanol is known as the bioethanol. Now what is this particular bioethanol? It is colorless liquid. These are the properties of bioethanol. It is colorless, means there is like no such specific color. It is biodegradable, that means it is not causing that much harm to the entire environment, because it is biodegradable. It can be disintegrated into it consequence, right? Then apart from that, burns to produce the carbon dioxide and water. So comparatively, the harmful gases are not getting emitted to the scale which is getting emitted from different kind of fuels, right? Now when we talk about bamboo, why bamboo is more suitable? So when we talk about the ethanol or the biofuel related generations, there are 4 generations that are being talked about. First is utilizing the edible feedstock. That means your food related material that is there, and when the ethanol is getting produced from these particular feedstock or the food stock, it is known as the first generation. But it is utilizing the food stock, and that particular food stock means comparatively whatever is available for the entire population, that food stock is getting shrunk. So that's why the second generation was being talked about. In second generation mein you are utilizing lignocellulosic biomass. That means the woods and the other material which is having lignin, which is having the cellulose, and which can be utilized to turn that particular product into ethanol. So that's why whether it is wheat bran or whether it is animal fat, whether it is waste, whether it is bamboo, whether it is woods, that is being utilized in order to create the ethanol. Third generation utilizes the microalgae and the cyanobacteria. Fourth generation, genetically engineered microorganism. So when we talk about bamboo, bamboo lies over here. It is lignocellulosic biomass, right? So it is having high biomass content which is suitable for the ethanol production. That's why this particular crop is being talked about. So high lignocellulose content that is available in bamboo. Now when we talk about the National Policy on Biofuel 2018, which talks about even the classification of biofuels, which talks about the development of the economy, blending of the biofuels or the ethanol to the petrol, and all these things have been talked about over here. So it talked about biofuels as first sugar containing material. So for example, sugar cane, sugar beet, sweet sorghum. यहाँ से भी from here also you can produce the biofuels. Then starch containing material like the corn, cassava, rotten potatoes. Then the cellulose containing material. So this also talked about from where you get the cellulose that can be utilized in order to produce the ethanol. So here bagasse is there, wood waste is there, agriculture, forestry residue. So these can also be utilized. So here also there can be classification of the bamboo and at this particular stage. Now when we are talking about the biofuel, regarding the biofuel, government is also taking certain steps. A government has already taken, government has achieved the target of 20% blending of the ethanol to the petrol, not to diesel, to the petrol, right? So E20, previously it was E10, then E20 is there, even E100 is there with respect to different type of fuels which needs the ethanol as the primary fuel. So whether it is national policy on biofuel, holistic policy regarding the classification of biofuel utilization, or the Bio E3 policy which is talking about the economy, which talks about the employment, which talks about the environment within this. So it talks about the entire bioeconomy, right? Then the roadmap for the ethanol blending. So we have talked about that previously. It was 2030 that we have to achieve 20% of the ethanol blending, but we have already achieved. So now there is further need to increase the percentage, right? Lastly, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana, which talks specifically about production of the second generation. That means from the wood and the cellulose wala content. So lignocellulosic biomass ka generation, which is being focused upon the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana. All of these have been talking about the ethanol production or the biofuel related productions, right? Now what are the application? First, as a fuel, we know that whether blending with petrol or whether used otherwise, that is acting as a fuel. So this 100, 10, 20 represents the content of the ethanol, like 100%, 10%, 20%, like this. Next is for the production of chemicals. So sometimes for the production of chemical also this ethanol is being utilized. Next is for the pharmaceutical and the personal care products. So in order to develop the cosmetic items and all, there have been utilization of the ethanol. Last lastly is the bio-based material like the bioplastics and also here also, because generally the plastic is being utilized or being produced from the places which is generating the fuels or the crudes and all, right? So bio-based material can also be generated from the biofuel related production centers. Now when we talk about the advantage of this, since it is biodegradable, like the dissociating or disforming into the carbon dioxide and the water, so comparatively lesser pollution is being created, so reduces the air pollution also, reduces the greenhouse gas emission also compared to the fossil fuel. So when we talk about as a comparison to the fossil fuel, the percentage of the carbon dioxide emission is lesser, and then it is also renewable energy resource, because we are generally focusing upon those particular material which are getting waste, which are getting rotten, right? So those material are being utilized in order to produce the ethanol, right? So these are the advantage, and this is going to reduce India's dependence on the crude oil, because if you are going to blend more ethanol in the petrol without compromising upon the vehicle efficiency, in that cases we need to take lesser amount of the crude from the external world, right? Because right now we are dependent a lot on the crude oil from the external world. Next is regarding the defense indigenization prioritized in the new defense procurement manual. Now, when we are talking about the defense indigenization prioritized in the new defense procurement manual of 2025, here we have to see the differentiation between these two terms, which is talking about the defense procurement manual and also the policy of the defense acquisition or the defense acquisition processes. So when we talk about the defense procurement manual, it is talking about procurement of those things which are utilized in a day-to-day task. That means for the service, for maintenance, for just fulfilling that particular task, like the operations and also operations and maintenance के लिए you are utilizing this particular aspect के through things. For example, let's say the fuel purchase, let's say the maintenance or some spare part or any other thing which is utilized for the maintenance of the capital goods. But when it talks about the purchasing of the capital goods, in those particular cases, this comes under the defense acquisition process. So that is the acquisition which talks about the purchasing of the entire capital things with respect to the defense, like the, let's say, Rafale deal, right? So that is under the acquisition process. But when we talk about the procurement manual, it talks about the service and the maintenance related things. So when we are talking about the indigenization is being prioritized, that means we are going to focus more upon the indigenization in this particular procurement process. Now from the UPSC GS paper to government policies intervention, reducing the import dependence, strengthening self-reliance, like the Atmanirbhar Bharat important aspect, GS paper to GS paper 3 में भी Indian economy, manufacturing and associated challenges that are part of it, GS paper 3. What is the defense procurement manual? So as I have already talked about, you can read like the rules for acquiring goods and services needed for daily operation, maintenance and the readiness. That means for the maintenance purpose, operational purpose, not purchasing something new as an entire equipment, right? So for the operation maintenance of those particular things, these are the defense procurement manual. This constitutes all these things. Now defense services and the Ministry of Defense establishments में जो needs हैं, what all needs are there, that particular thing comes under the defense procurement manual. Now when we talk about how it is distinguished from the other kind of procurement, so other procurement is the defense acquisition procedure. Now when we talk about this is for the capital procurement, means the larger goods. For example, the defense equipment, the major equipments that are there. Now key highlights for the defense procurement manual. First is the self-reliance by promoting the defense indigenization. So you have to rely more on the indigenous good, whether it is for servicing, whether it is for operations, whether it is for the maintenance and all. So the self-reliance is being has to be promoted in order to ensure the readiness, in order to ensure the availability of those products, and in order to ensure the operational synchronization between different forces. Then streamlining and simplifying the revenue procurement process, because if there is comparatively better availability of this kind of guidelines which are available, it ensures the streamline and the simplifying of the procurement process. That means all the things are available. We know that in what manner there has to be procurement and all. Now when we talk about the indigenization, that was the context. Now when we talk about the indigenization, there are certain challenges which we have to discuss even from the capital procurement perspective, even from the defense procurement manual perspective, like the operations and the maintenance. First is regarding technological. Now, generally, India is relying upon the technology share from different countries, and we are now trying to focus upon more and more indigenous technology development, but that takes time, right? So in those cases hota kya hai, when it is inadequate domestic R&D, because generally when we are focusing upon more on the procurement and not our own production, in those cases we are dependent on them, and sometimes country try to put pressure on us. For example, after 1991 there was a deal that was about to be signed between India and Russia, the successor of the USSR, regarding the cryogenic engine. But under the United States pressure, Russia did not supply those cryogenic engines to India. That delayed the India's space missions. Similarly, right now, US is forcing India in order to not procure oil from Russia. But India is not listening, because India ka defense dependence and also a lot of other strategic partnership is there with Russia. So when you are not solely reliant on yourself, there will be external pressure. That's why technological capabilities have to be developed, but that has to be built up from the technological perspective. R&D, skilled workforce, all have to be ensured, and that takes time. This is one such issue. Next is industry. So in the context of industry, the lower private sector participation, generally aap dekhoge that within the defense domain, there are mainly the government companies like HAL is there, or certain other corporations. So generally there have been the monopoly of one such firm, which is government firm. So private sector thinks ki bhai there will be obviously discrimination while providing the contract. That's why they are not that much focusing. But right now the scenario is changing. A lot of private corporations are coming forward in order to go for the cooperation with these particular firms. Next is the supply chain vulnerabilities. Now, right now, the world is moving towards deglobalization. The countries are compartmentalizing themselves within their groupings or within themselves only. So the supply chain vulnerabilities are being highlighted. When the supply chains are getting vulnerable in those particular cases, this supply chain vulnerability also causes lack of availability of, let's say, the defense ka jo entire thing, or maybe some equipments also. If that country is not supporting us with those equipments, then eventually what all machines that we are having at India, that might be causing some difficulties, right? So that's why the imported component, subsystem, critical technologies creates difficulty when the other countries prevent the supply chains. Few days back we had discussed regarding the rare earth magnet. So rare earth magnet is being utilized in a lot of product, but when the China is not supplying, that is causing difficulty. Last is the high cost. When we are going for indigenization for initial few years, obviously there have to be the high cost, because if everything we are doing indigenously, in that cases there will be a need to bearing the cost also, and that will be there. Every country does the same, but in that cases the government and the private sector should cooperate in order to bear the burden. All the stakeholders should come together. Now, what initiatives have been taken? First is regarding the liberalization of FDI. So 74% FDI through the automatic route for the defense related products. So that is there. Next is the innovation for the defense excellence, right? So what is the innovation for defense excellence? So there have been promotion for the startups. There have been support for the MSMEs, the small firms, in order to ensure the better innovation and the technological development. Whether it is through the collaboration with institutions, whether through providing funding, whether through providing certain kind of other incubation facilities, right? So these are the support. Next is Sudarshan Chakra mission. So in this, the entire defense system which is being created, that is basically developed within India in order to ensure the indigenous security shield, or the defense shield of India. So entire defense system is researched and developed and manufactured in India. So indigenous defense shield, that is there. So ऐसा ना हो कि at any point of time if there is any vulnerable situation that comes, at that point of time we are too much dependent on some other country. Lastly is the Srijan portal. This is specifically talking about the indigenization of the industry, specifically concerning with the defense industries, right? So this is it regarding the defense related procurement manual, right? So defense procurement manual. I hope that the term defense procurement manual and the defense related acquisition procedures, this differentiation is clearly. Last article in the major article is regarding the Kerala Cabinet's approval for the amendment bill to suggest the changes in the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Now, we already have discussed the aspects regarding the environment. Now, from the syllabus perspective, GS paper 2, it is important because when Kerala is changing certain things with respect to the subject, which is a part of the concurrent list, that particular thing can again be altered by the central government. So here the federal aspects are coming into picture. So federalism is an important issue as far as the GS paper 2 is concerned. So structure, organization, functioning of the executive and the legislature, issues, challenges pertaining to the federal structure. GS paper 3, because the conservation, environment, pollution, degradation, environmental impact assessment, biodiversity, climate change, these are the important thing from the exam perspective within the GS3 framework. Now, what are the key highlights of this particular bill? So there are two major changes that are proposed in this particular bill, which is right now approved by the cabinet. First is the empowering of the chief wildlife warden to order the killing of any wild animal, even if part of the Schedule 1, if that animal attacks a person in the human habitat. Now see, this is not talking about that in jungle, because jungle is their territory. If you are going there, if you are doing something mistake, then it is your responsibility. But if that animal is coming in your habitat and then causing a harm to you or attacking the person in the human habitat, then there will be permission from the chief wildlife warden to ordering the killing of the wildlife or the animal. Now previously, मतलब अभी presently क्या होता है, what happens that it is empowering chief wildlife warden to grant permission for the hunting of animal. Here explicitly term killing is mentioned. Here it is mentioned as hunting of animal if they become dangerous to the human life. And there are also exceptions provided for certain category of animals. Next is the state government to declare any wildlife animal, including Schedule 2 animal, as the vermin. Now, what are vermin? Vermin are those particular species which are causing harm, let's say not maybe to the individual to that extent, but yes, to the economy, maybe the property, maybe your crops and all, right? And their population has increased substantially, that is causing issues, right? So some states may, the macaques or the your different species of the rhesus macaque that have been designated as the vermin, sometimes like even the mouse. So these particular species where the population gets increased and they are causing harm to the, in general, the economic system that is there, and also a lot of other things that may be declared as the vermin depending upon their criteria. Now, presently section 62 of the Wildlife Protection Act says that the central government can designate the animal which is mentioned as the under the Schedule 2 as vermin. So Schedule 2 may, if there is any specific animal that is mentioned, and if you want to designate that as the vermin, because vermin may you can kill that particular specific species, and the act में जो issue जो mention किए गए, whatever guidelines and things are mentioned, that will not applicable on you if that is designated as vermin. Because like for example, somewhere nilgai is mentioned as vermin. So if you are then killing that particular nilgai, so in that cases there may be some exemptions will be provided to you. Now, except those in the Schedule 1 and Part 2 of the Schedule 2, in those cases there have been the exceptions provided for the central government presently. But now it is mentioned as per this act that the state government can declare any wildlife animal in the Schedule 2 as a vermin. That means again it provides the state to declare any animal as the vermin, right? Now, why Kerala has taken this particular step? So there have been a lot of instances of the man and animal conflict or the human animal conflict that has increased in Kerala, and that's why Kerala has taken this. Previously, Kerala has asked the central government to change certain things in the Wildlife Protection Act, but state government has not acceded to the demands that are being provided by the states and asked states to go for certain alternative measures. That's why Kerala has now gone for the alteration within this particular act. Now, this is not done yet. It will be going to the assembly in the next session, and once it is approved, that will be considered as an amendment. But then if the central government again want to impose that particular laws or change some laws, then the central government ka rules will prevail. Now, what are the reasons for the human animal conflict? These are very simple reasons. First is habitat loss. Now, when you are encroaching upon the habitat of the different species. Now obviously there will be increased instances of the human animal conflict, because when you are encroaching upon their habitat, they can also encroach upon yours, because now the boundary that was there previously, now there is no more, right? So there have been the habitat loss because of the infrastructure project, urbanization, a lot of other things like the wildfire. So these are the causes of habitat loss. Next is the resource competition. Now in the similar area, when the wildlife is also residing and the people are also residing, they compete for the resources, because some resources will be common to both of them. So in that cases there will be resource competition. Once the species or the wildlife species will be having lack of the resources available, then in that cases the chances are high that they might be going into the human zone, or the human habitat zone, might be causing the harm to the human. Climate change, again, this is the universal issue for a lot of things, right? But then climate change is causing the seasonal rainfall related changes, the changes with respect to a lot of other things like the crop and others. So in that cases, what is happening, that previously when there was extreme heat, now there is no such extreme heat. So now the species are migrating to certain other regions, or previously where less of monsoon was there, now there have been the excessive monsoon or the flood-like situation, so species had to migrate. So that particular thing, because of the climate change, also causes the human-animal conflict. Lastly, poaching and the illegal trade. This is a universal issue with respect to the human-animal conflict, because when you are entering into their area, there is bound to be a conflict between the human and animal. So this is regarding the human-animal conflict. Now the next article is regarding the personality in news, which is Dr. Bhupen Hazarika. Now recently the context is the Prime Minister addressed the 100th birth anniversary celebration of Dr. Bhupen Hazarika. That's why this personality in news. Now when any personality is in news, you have to have an awareness regarding which region he belongs to. So he belonged to the region of Assam, right? Apart from that, he is also known as the Bard of Brahmaputra, or the Sudha Kantha, right? Or the Nightingale. Now UPSC also sometime asked that which of the following personality have got all the prizes, which are the like Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, Bharat Ratna. So it is Dr. Bhupen Hazarika who have got all the award. Now he was a humanist. So basically he was talking about the inclusivity. He was talking about keeping the human first. Like basically talking about the cooperation, collaboration between different people. Talking about the ideals like justice, ideals like humanity, ideals like freedom, right? So in his songs, the communal harmony, optimism, justice, that was the message that he wanted to convey. A message of protest, revolutionary zeal and empathy among the people. He also through his songs tried to unite what was the folk culture in the northeastern region, specifically in the Assam region, to the modern day things or the modern day issues, whatever issues are going on. Now he blended the Assamese folk songs with the universal message of the humanity, justice and the harmony. So evergreen songs, like sometimes UPSC can give you three different things which appears like you do not exactly know, but if you have some idea regarding this, you can answer this. For example, Manuhe Manuhar Babe, then Moi Eti Jajabor, and then Bistirno Parore, right? I know it is difficult to even pronounce and even difficult to remember, but sometimes if you have just an idea about it, let's say in the exam hall, if it clicked, then you can mark the answer correctly. देखो mains में तो obviously you cannot even, मतलब if you do not want to write, it's up to you. But then in the prelims, the answer will be in front of you. So at those particular point of time, this will be giving you a cue in order to mark that answer. Now there are certain other quick updates. So let's quickly see some other news articles. First is regarding the India's trilateral engagement. So a few days back, we had seen that China is doing the trilateral meeting with the India's neighbors, keeping Pakistan as common, and then with Afghanistan, with Bangladesh, right? So now India also had to reciprocate. So India has also reciprocated. First, it was done with Armenia. So India, Iran and Armenia. Now India, Iran and Uzbekistan. So India, Iran and Uzbekistan had done first trilateral meeting. Now see, objective trilateral mein same hota hai. There will be a common issue that these three countries will try to resolve. So now this meeting was held at Tehran, Iran, right? Now what was the main agenda? It was to push the use of the Chabahar port by Uzbekistan to trade with India. Now see, Uzbekistan is also one such landlocked country. For trading, they need to utilize other countries or certain other countries' ports. So Chabahar is one such connectivity project, whether it is for Armenia or whether it is for Uzbekistan. This is a prominent port. So Chabahar, international north-south transport corridor. These are the prominent resource areas or the regions or the port which are important, which are common among these. So that's why the strategic positions of these ports beside the INSTC is important. So in that particular case, a factual question can be expected either regarding INSTC or Chabahar port, or regarding India's trilateral with these particular country, India, Iran, Uzbekistan, India, Iran and Armenia. Here you can see like China is keeping Pakistan, India is keeping Iran over here, because when there is one such country from where India's projects can flourish to different countries, here it will be Iran, right? So that's why India is maintaining its ties with Iran. Also, when the conflict is going on between Iran and Israel, India tried to make sure that both the parties को merit के basis पे India should support. It should not be like that blind support of any specific country. It is about the strategic alignment. Clear? Next is regarding the Scarborough Shoal. So the Philippines has strongly condemned the Chinese move to set up the nature reserve at the Scarborough Shoal. Now what is the Scarborough Shoal? You can see over here in this particular map, this is the Philippine region, and here you can see this is the Scarborough Shoal. Now when you talk about the exclusive economic zone, this is the Philippine ka exclusive economic zone. But then China claims कि भाई देखो ये हमारे island and this is the region of ours, and this is Chinese 9-dash line, which is China's historical perception of its territory. Right? So China claims this region and China is having military presence over this region. But this is in contention between Philippines and China. That's why when China have created some nature reserve at this particular Scarborough Shoal, Philippines is now protesting it. So between which two countries there is a dispute? China and Philippines. That can be a question that UPSC asks. And apart from that, there are certain other islands. For example, Paracel Island. Here also China maintained dominance. Here it is Spratly Island. Here also China maintained dominance. Now these are also in contention between China and its neighbor. So that's why it is important. Now Scarborough is also known as the Huangyan Island in China and Panatag Shoal in the Philippines. Right? So these are certain other facts. Next is regarding polypropylene. So the Prime Minister has laid the foundation stone for the polypropylene plant in the Numaligarh refinery. So that's why the polypropylene was there in news. So it is a synthetic resin or a polymer which is built by the polymerization of the propylene. So now see this in simple words, it is one such type of plastic out of the entire plastic ka series. It is one such type of plastic which is famous for its toughness, flexibility, lightweight and the heat resistance. So these are the qualities of the polypropylene. Polymers are repeated chains of the simpler molecules, and this is specifically being utilized more because of its properties. Like the plastic, it is resistant to the chemical corrosion, high insulation property and also waterproof, right? Usage kahan hota hai? Where all it is utilized? Fiber, textile, packaging, pipes, medical components, electrical application. Wherever you need the resistance to the chemical corrosion, where you need the high insulation properties, waterproofness, all these places you can utilize polypropylene. Next is regarding Androth. So this is basically an anti-submarine warship that has been developed by India. Now in these cases, what all things are important? What kind of ship is it? So it is the anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft. Shallow watercraft means comparatively shallow water mein this particular watercraft operates, does not generally go in the open oceans, right? And apart from that, it is anti-submarine warfare ke liye. So anti-submarine warfare equipment like the torpedoes and all have been utilized over here. Now built by the Garden Reach Shipbuilders Engineers Limited. So it is in Kolkata, right? So Garden Reach Shipbuilders Engineers has constructed it. Now the name comes from the Androth Island in the Lakshadweep archipelago. This is important, right? So this is regarding the Androth. Now it is using the diesel engine, water jet combination and also equipped with the state-of-the-art lightweight torpedo, which is for fighting like the kind of sea-based missiles, and also the indigenous anti-submarine warfare rocket. So these are there in the Androth. Next is the Great Rhino event. So recently there have been some studies that have talked about that Wayanad mein what landslide had done, that is a Grey Rhino event. Now see, there are two type of prominent events, Grey Rhino events. So Grey Rhino events are basically those events regarding which the warnings are already being issued. Matlab these are the probable issues ki today or tomorrow this is going to happen. For example, when you talk about, let's say, when there will be high rainfall, when there will be large amount of construction in the Uttarakhand region, there is bound to be landslide. There is bound to be this kind of massive destruction. So this is the Grey rhino event, which is disastrous, but at the same time, it is highly probable, high impactful. Another type of event is the black swan event, which is the random surprise event. Matlab, this region was not even earthquake prone region, but here there was earthquake. So it is basically a surprise event, rare but highly impactful. So this is the black swan event. So two type of event. We are talking about the grey rhino event, which is the probable event. The black swan event, which is the random event as a surprise, right? Next is regarding Ho tribe. So recently Ho tribe have protested against the Jharkhand government regarding the interference in their tribal self-governance mechanism, or the Manki Munda system. So in the Manki Munda system, which is their dispute resolution system or the alternate dispute resolution system, what is Munda? Munda is the hereditary village head, like the Sarpanch. So this is going to resolve the dispute between different tribes at the village level. But what if there is escalation beyond this, if that is not resolved? So 8 से 15 गांव के ऊपर, over 8 to 15 villages, there is a Manki. So this is a regional head, which is cases escalated from the Munda. So if there are cases that escalates from Munda, it is solved by the Manki. So that's why this Manki Munda system was there in use. This is the Manki Munda system, and Ho tribe was there in use. So this tribe is also known as Ho, Hodoko, Horo, or Kolha. Which particular region they belongs to? Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal, Bihar, Bangladesh, Nepal. Here their traces are available. Austro-Asiatic Munda tribe. They are speaker of the Mundari languages, right? And they are the Austro-Asiatic ethnic groups. Now one such prominent fact that they does not part of the PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal group. Next is World Boxing Championship. So a recent context that the Jasmine Lamboria and the Meenakshi Hooda won the gold medal in the World Boxing Championship. Simply, the location is important, and one fact that both male and female event was together. So Liverpool, UK में हुआ, then both men's and women's event was together for the first time. That's why it is important. So both of them won the gold medal, and apart from that, Nupur Sharon earned the silver and Pooja Rani got the bronze medal, right? Kazakhstan topped the medal table. Last is the exercise in news. So there is an exercise which is Zapad 2025. So Russia, Belarus, and apart from that, India has participated in Zapad 2025. So this is an exercise which is held after every 4 years. So 4 साल में एक बार होती है this exercise. Russia, Belarus, and India have participated in this. Now this was launched in 1999, but from 2009 onwards, it is getting hold after every 4 years, right? So 2009 se after every 4th year, this is happening to test the defense against the external threats. Now it also incorporates the training with the nuclear capable systems, including the Russia's hypersonic Zircon missile. So Russia also demonstrated its highly equipped missiles, right? So this is regarding the exercise Zapad 2025. Now you know how UPSC asked the question. On one side, they give the countries that with which India has done the exercise. On the other side, the exercise name, like this, UPSC asked the question. This is a very simple question, just one-liner information noting, and that will help you to solve the question. So with this, we have concluded the discussion of the 14th and the 15th of the September, right? Now, I hope that whatever questions you are getting on the screen, you should be answering those particular questions, posting them in the comment section. And I hope the things are clear to you. Whatever we have discussed, tried to discuss in detail, to the needed detail and needed extent, we have tried to cover in the session. Go to the current affairs portal also and try to utilize all the other features available. I hope the things are clear to you. Thank you, everyone.